Hi, everyone.
Hello, everybody. It's Jeff and Kim with FEWL tonight for our very first live Facebook chat. So welcome. Just want to let you know that we're planning on about a half hour tonight, depending on questions or answers. We want to cover the Dutch hormone test and how amazingly awesome this simple urine test is for people's health. And let you know that we are recording. I think we're recording this, yes? Yep, we're recording this, and we're going to blog about it and post it as a blog, and also post it in our website. So, if you have to leave early, or if you're joining a little bit late, never fear. It's going to be put onto our website. Wow, right on.
Here we are, our first Facebook Live. So bear with us as we get used to this technology and this platform. But we're really excited to share our excitement about this great test called the Dutch test, and that actually stands for dried urine. Oh my gosh! No, I'm forgetting. dried urine. So it stands for Dried Urine Test for Comprehensive Hormones. Think about that every day and couldn't think of it now that we're live. But welcome everybody, and thanks for joining us. We're going to really go into more detail tonight about why we use this test, why we love this test, and why we think it's really the best test. It's going to give you the most bang for your buck when you're trying to heal some of the specific symptoms that we work with our program, and give you real ability to target specifically what is going on with you, not just guessing, but really target your specific symptoms and the root of those symptoms.
Absolutely. So one of the most important things about Dutch or hormone testing is the old paradigm, the way that medicine has been traditionally used. If you go to see your physician, is they're going to poke a hole and you take some blood, and they're going to go measure some hormones in your body, whether it's thyroid or cortisol or whatever, testosterone, estrogen, that kind of thing. That's really old technology. One, it's painful. Two, it's expensive. And three, you got to take time to go to a physician, to go to a lab, to go get these results. And fourth, it's really not very accurate at all. It only tells you what your hormone level is right at this particular time. The entire new technology, which is Dutch, is it's kind of like Star Trek Enterprise would be compared to old school flying now. That's how much these tests have advanced just in the last 4 or 5 years. The Dutch test, you basically pee on some strips. Do you have some strips we could show? Mm-hmm. You pee on some strips and you let them dry. You take 4 of these tests across the day, from morning right through till night. Super, super simple. Anybody can pee on a little strip. You can take it with you traveling, which I've done. I didn't tell my family that there were pee strips lying around the house. Or you can take it to work, which I've also done, and left them on my desk. Or you can do it all at home, depending. So it's completely convenient. And what that does is it tells you the amount of hormones you have across the whole day. And so it gives you a much, much better perspective. It's not just one hormone, and as Kim can tell you, it's all kinds of hormones. Everything that makes your body run, from metabolism to your energy to your mood to even where on your body you actually store fat or don't store fat. And I think one of the best parts of it is not just how accurate it is. It's considered more accurate than blood testing. The real key here is it doesn't just tell you how much hormone you have. It tells you how your body actually uses the hormone. And we'll show some differences between some of the Dutch tests, myself included, of how different people will show up with different ability to use their hormones or not.
Yeah, so as Jeff was just saying, it's really important to understand that we're not just, with the Dutch test, not just going to look at what your hormone production is, which is useful and important, but it's going to go a little bit deeper and show the function of our hormone metabolism, or the pathways of these hormones, the metabolites it's called. So measuring both the hormone production and the metabolites is going to give us a much bigger picture of what's really going on in your body. And hormones are really, really, really important. They tell your cells what to do. And so it's going to affect everything, as Jeff said, from your body weight to your metabolism to your mood, to how you carry fat, where you carry fat, your fertility, your libido, your sex drive or lack thereof, your sex drive. It's going to affect how well you age. Yeah. It's going to affect pretty much everything. And so this test is just, as we said, so comprehensive because it's going to give us stress hormones, your adrenal profile, and the cortisol that you produce throughout the day, so we can see how well not only are you producing the stress hormones that you need in the proper balance, but also how well you're able to use them and how you're using those hormones throughout the day. If you're using them at the correct time in the correct rhythm. It's called the cortisol rhythm or circadian rhythm. You might have heard of that. So that gives us a big picture understanding of how well your body is managing stress, and other hormones are affected by your cortisol hormone levels. So they kind of do this dance. They work together. So you might have a symptom that could be a fertility issue from your sex hormones, but you could have a symptom from your adrenals. It could be from your insulin levels. It could be from all of these different origins or a different root cause. So taking the test will narrow it down for us so we can get a sense of where there might be a barrier to that hormone production or function, and then we can treat specifically that root cause or that hormone. So, and we, of course, as functional nutrition coaches, use lifestyle, we use food, nutritional supplements, herbs and vitamins and minerals, and lifestyle tools to help you get back on track, as opposed to using prescription medication. But the Dutch test can tell us if you're so far out of range that you might be a candidate to connect with a physician and get a prescription medication. But in our experience, most people are truly able to make radical change and improvements in their hormone balance with the lifestyle, with nutrition and exercise and other lifestyle components.
Maybe, Kim, if we could just talk, where would you use this hormone test, and why would you? On our website, there's an explainer video for Radical Freedom, one of our programs. We have weight loss, we have detox, we also have Radical Freedom. And in the Radical Freedom program, which is what we consider more of a deeper level going into health overall, although many people will use that for weight loss also, we use the Dutch test sometimes. There is a charge for the Dutch test. It's $350 from us, including a debrief and also targeted recommendations. And we're supported with an expert medical team. The producers of Dutch have a medical team, so it flows through us. And Kim, especially, is an expert on hormones. So it's you can compare the price. It's much less expensive through FEWL than most any practitioner. In fact, we've actually had a recent inquiry from New Jersey, all the way from New Jersey, because apparently not a lot of people can get Dutch tests without going to see a practitioner live. So, we're happy that we're a preferred vendor, or we're considered a preferred partner of the Dutch test, and that we can actually, debrief you in the comfort of your own home without having to take time from work or play or whatever to go and see us or a physician. But it's your option. If you feel that the Dutch test might be useful, great, and if not, that's okay. But it's I think really where we want to go with this is some of the variation that it shows, maybe some practical examples, and I'd like to, maybe I'll use myself to start off with. This is not an ego thing, but it's just an example. I have done the Dutch test, and I was actually quite shocked because I eat pretty well, better than most people, and I'm very aware of what happens in my body overall. But I'm like anybody else. I'm busy, and I'm subjective to some things that are kind of my gateway drugs. Coffee for me is a gateway. When I drink coffee, then I start eating a lot of sweets. My energy goes through the floor, and anybody who knows me personally has seen this through the last 30 years of my existence. But it was interesting that I knew that I wasn't doing really well. And 4 weeks ago, almost 5 weeks ago, I engaged with the Dutch test. Or at least I got my results 5 weeks ago. And it blew me away, because not only did I find out where my hormones were at, and I'm doing pretty good in my hormones overall. Everything was in normal. My cortisol which surprised me. That's the stress hormone. That surprised me, though, because, I'm working a lot, and I'm not very active because I'm working a lot, and we're building this company and such. And but I'm okay with that. And my testosterone, even though I've gained some weight, and most of it that I've gained is actually being more fat and less muscle, there were some things that I thought would be off, and they weren't. But the two things that were unique to me were that I had a lot more estrogen on board than I was expecting. And the reason that I have more estrogen on board, you get estrogen from a lot of the things that are surrounding us. If you're surrounded or drinking out of plastic containers, using microwaves, or if you're in a fairly toxic environment like working in an office all day with carpets and that kind of stuff, you're going to absorb estrogen.
And eating meat that is not clean.
Correct.
Is your biggest source of estrogen.
That's right. The number one food source for estrogen is actually industrial fish and industrial farmed animals, because it's concentrated up the food chain through the chemicals that are fed to those critters, and then we eat them. But I didn't realize how much estrogen I had on board. And a biggest reason, which was really great, that Kim was able to figure this out, because I looked at my Dutch test, and I understand some hormones, but again, it's nice that we're backed up all the way through to the medical level, and we have Kim as an expert as well. She pointed out that my, what we call methylation, isn't correct. My methylation is part of one of my detox pathways. We all have detox pathways. There's actually 4 of them in our body, 1, 2, and 3. You might have heard of phase 1, phase 2, or phase 3 detox. And what that is just converting stuff that makes fat, chemicals, into water so you can eliminate it. If you can't convert it to water, and you get rid of it out of your pee and your feces and your breath, right, or your sweat, if you can't convert it to water, it has to go someplace. You store it. You actually make more fat tissue. In fact, in 2011, scientists from around the Center for Disease Control got together with the EPA, got together with National Institute of Health, and begrudgingly even the FDA participated, and the USDA. And this was a closed-door meeting. You can look at it online, and it's one of the resources on our science page. But they admitted that 35 to 65% of all of your fat cells come from chemicals. And the size of your fat cells, 35 to 65% of the size of your fat cells, is related to storing chemicals. So what we found out was my detox pathway is compromised, and therefore I had estrogen on board, but because I couldn't convert it or get rid of it, as Kim said earlier, as a metabolite, well, then I got bigger boobs and a bigger belly, and I just became heavier in terms of fat right here between my belly and my boobs. And so we did the Dutch test. I figured that out, and Kim put me onto a detox protocol for 1 week, and as well 4 supplements specific to me, specific to how I could convert estrogen and increase my methylation. So in the first 10 days, I lost 12 pounds, all of it right here in my belly.
Boobs too?
Oh yeah, definitely. This shirt, I wouldn't wear this shirt because it was like 10, just 4 weeks ago. But now it's not. And I still have progress to go, and I'm pretty happy about it. But I'll tell you, hormones are related to everything. My mood's much better. Everything has changed. My skin, my bowels, my energy, my libido, you name it. It's way better. So I'm on the right path. And it's just an example of how different this can be for different people.
Right. And many, I think men especially, will jump to the conclusion that when they're gaining weight, when their energy is low, if their libido is off, that it must be low testosterone. And it certainly can be low testosterone. We worked with a gentleman not too long ago. He's only about 37 years old, and his testosterone was very, very low. I don't know how well you'll be able to see this. You can see here, normal range would be in between these 2 stars, and his is very, very low. So for a young man, 30-something years old, to have such extremely low testosterone, that's really good to know that. So we're able to specifically target his unique reasons why he might be a little bit lower in testosterone. He was also really high in estrogen. His methylation, however, was good. It was phase 1 detox was a problem for him. So very different scenarios that we would have very different recommendations for. Jeff had higher testosterone but still had estrogen, and his methylation pathways were compromised, whereas this gentleman had very low testosterone but also had high estrogen, and his methylation was fine. So symptoms were very much the same. So going deeper and getting this test, we're able to assess what might be going on more specifically and recommend very personalized protocol. And I think the best part of that is that you tend to save a lot of money in the long run, because based on your symptoms, there might be hundreds of different nutritional supplements and dietary guidelines and different lifestyle recommendations that we could make. And it's just trial and error, right? And you could spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on different protocol to address your symptoms. But when we can do a test like this to bring it down to specifically what is going on, we can give you very targeted recommendations. And so you're only then trying a few different lifestyle changes, dietary changes, exercise changes, and very specific nutritional supplements. And again, you can save hundreds and thousands of dollars because you're really, really working on specifically what's going on in your pathway with your hormones.
That's a really good point. And again, I'll use myself, and this is reflective of the clients that we work with. You know, I paid $350 for my Dutch test, including the debrief, as well as I paid $169 for our detox kit. So, you know, I was into it for $500, and then 4 supplements, the total of which was $100. So $600 in total. But here I am 4 weeks later. I know something that I never would have been able to figure out if I'd gone to a conventional physician who's using blood test. I would have paid as much or more, even on a copay, to do that. And I would have been stuck doing the same thing, expecting a different result. And I never would have the understanding of where I'm at and where I want to go and how to get there. That was the big part for me. So sure, I spent $600 in my first month. And now going forward, I'll spend $100 a month or less. I'm actually according to Kim and how things have changed for me, we have these amazing other online assessments which we can text or email to you. There's a few of them on our website, but there are way many more assessments that can help you understand better, if you're a man or you're a woman, what your hormone profiles are. It takes 5 minutes an assessment, just a series of questions and answers, which are actually incredibly accurate. Same with digestion and a bunch of other things too, because these are all related to your hormone profiles. We talk about digestion assessments, that relates to, who knew, serotonin, right? 95% of your serotonin is made in your gut. That's your mood. If you're happy or not, it's affected by serotonin. So there's a lot of other assessments that we have that we can send to you individually, and you can do and find out where you are. Again, comfort of your home for free. But going forward, even if I pay $100 for the next couple of months until my methylation and everything else sort of figures out, that is so worth it to me. And then we're going to do an assessment at 6 weeks, because we do reassess everybody in a full reassessment every 6 weeks. Maybe my supplements might change because my body will have changed based on those assessments that I spoke of. And you know what? I am going to pay $350 again, because the difference in my body has been so unbelievable that I am going to redo my test this week. Because I just can't wait. I have to see how remarkably changed everything has been in just such a short time. But we don't recommend that for everybody. It's usually every 3 or 6 months that we would redo a test of the Dutch, whereas we would check in with you on other assessments and these other tools, because we have that experience and expertise to help navigate your changes as you change.
Right. And I guess one thing that I would like to just reiterate is that Jeff and I, working as functional nutrition coaches, we can't diagnose or technically treat anything. But what we're going to do is help you understand what your tests are showing from a functional perspective, and give you some tips and some recommendations based on our knowledge and based on our experience with these tests and with working with thousands and thousands of clients over the last 25 years. Both of us have 25 years of experience in the holistic health field and nutrition, and we are very lucky to have the training and the tools to help support you in understanding your tests. So when we give you an assessment, I spend about an hour with everyone to help you really understand what your test is showing and then give you suggestions from a functional perspective. And what that means is normal lab work is going to tell you what the normal range is. That's based on normal Americans, and frankly, Americans are fat and sick. So if you look at the normal range, you're not necessarily looking at the optimal range. So what we like to do is let you know where you fall outside of, how far outside of the optimal range you might be, and really going to work to get you back into the optimal range, not just normal, because normal is fat and sick. I want to help you get into the optimal range so you're feeling fantastic.
And there's a couple pieces here that how we deliver this kind of service to you almost anywhere, almost any time. And we can talk about that as well. But just prior to that, on our Facebook page, our amazing social media guru, Claudia at WordFlirt, just loaded this document. It's inside of the Radical Freedom Explainer video on the web page, and it's also on our Facebook page. It's called a hormone map. And all this does is give you an example of where on your body, for example, people may be gaining weight or having a hard time losing weight. So if you have thick calves or thick ankles, well, that's related to low growth hormone. Who knew? It's nothing to do about exercise, it's about growth hormone. If you have these love handles right here, if you're a woman or even if you're a man, that's related to your insulin levels as well as a blood sugar imbalance. And again, we have the ability to work with that on simple assessments or through the Dutch test. If you've got a fat back, well, that's related to low thyroid. If you have arm fat, that's related to your insulin, something called DHEA, another hormone. If you have abdominal fat, well, that's insulin, growth hormone, estrogen, testosterone, and particularly cortisol. So these are just examples that if you've got a specific area that you're having desire to change, now we can take a look at that. If you are looking at somebody who is, or if you have a sleep, something about sleep that you're looking to change, well, again, the Dutch hormone test is fantastic to help us with that, but so are these other assessment tools. Because is it your gut health that's affecting your sleep? Because often it is. Or is it that you are eating later towards the end of the night, which 4 hours after you eat, you're spiking your cortisol, and cortisol is the wake-up hormone, right? So there's different things that may be specific to you, but the awesomeness of this is for such an inexpensive and available test, we know now where things are at for you, and of course these other tests and things that we use, really we can target and personalize a program for you.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of sleep, Jeff, that's a really good point, because one of the biggest problems that our clients seem to complain about is lack of sleep, either poor sleep quality or having a hard time falling asleep or hard time staying asleep, which are two different things. So actually the Dutch test gives us a lot of information that will allow us to give you some specific recommendations. For instance, the cortisol rhythm that we talked about earlier, you might be making plenty of cortisol or you might be making too much cortisol, but that might not be affecting your sleep. It depends on when you're using the cortisol that you are producing, and that rhythm that shows up on the Dutch test can give us some very clear understanding of how you're using the cortisol, so that we might need to adjust how and when that cortisol is spiking through lifestyle and nutrition to help you have a better rest or better sleep. Another thing that this test, the complete test by Dutch, they do offer different tests, but tonight we're talking about the Dutch complete that does go through the adrenal hormones as well as the steroid hormones, but it shows your melatonin levels, and that can give us a really good idea also of what might be affecting your sleep. And interestingly, very low melatonin levels can point to some gut health problems. So again, really comprehensive test showing us a lot of information to give us ideas on what to target specifically for you. So we're not telling you to take 10 different things and try these different diets. We're going to give you very targeted very targeted recommendations that we've used for many, many years and have a lot of experience with these particular lifestyle tools as well as supplements. So we feel very confident in the recommendations that we do make for you.
It's true, and I think just for sleep, we don't look at it as total sleep. If you think that the longer you sleep is more better or better for you, that's a dinosaur way of thinking. It's more what's appropriate sleep. And so we work on what's appropriate about everything. And as Kim said, we certainly don't recommend anything that you don't need. There's no way that we would ever want to sell you anything or recommend anything that you don't need, because it doesn't serve you well, and it certainly doesn't serve us any well either. The end game or the goal for us is really to get you where you want to go, because that means happy you, happy us, happy everything, and that really is really, well, that's really why we do what we do, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
If I may, one of the tools that we use, we've been talking about Dutch test, we've been talking about hormones, and we've kind of touched on these other things like sleep or gut health or energy and moods and etc. Weight loss is something that people ask us about a lot, and it's been an entry point to our business, but clearly there is so much more that we do. We do have physician referrals, physician partnerships, with functional medicine physicians. These are medical doctors, MDs, who also have a much higher training in nutrition and understand that food is medicine. They're people that don't believe in medication unless absolutely necessary, because the reality is vitamins and minerals are in fact medication if they're used appropriately. And that's really our philosophy. So it's wonderful that we have these kinds of relationships and are being outsourced as coaches for physicians. However, for you, it's important also to know that we don't try and do it all. We know where the boundary is of what we can do. And if somebody arrives to us and we have an interview and we feel we can work with them, we'll work with you to a point, or we'll work with you as much as we can. But we love having these partnerships with these physicians, because regardless of where you are in the country, we can now trade referrals to who we believe are really amazing physicians who understand functional medicine, who understand that food is medicine, who aren't necessarily popping pills and prescribing. I mean, I guess they can, but that's not what their focus is. Instead, they're looking at more of this kind of holistic medicine, and they're way farther ahead of the curve of change in understanding tests like the Dutch and not using the outdated and old-fashioned blood test for hormones and that kind of stuff. So it's important that you know that we share referrals back and forth with physicians, so we'd like to support you with that. Another tool that you might find really useful amongst all of these kinds of things is that we have this really amazing app. And you can plug into everything in here, from your daily nutrition to your activity to your mood, how you slept, whether you're meditating. You can take some notes. We even push notifications out to you to remind you of if you're taking a supplement, which one, when to take it. So there's a lot of things that were going on, and the whole idea is to support you, whether it's with Dutch Test or any of the other programs that we use. Anyways.
Thank you, Jeff, for that. Yeah, we're really at our core a functional nutrition coaching program. We want to support you step by step in your healing process. But we first need to understand what it is that we're trying to work on. What is the root cause of your symptoms? What can we do to help us and help you understand what the root cause or causes are, and then give you some strategy with lifestyle, with food as medicine, and nutritional supplements. We're really going to give you a strategy to help you get there as fast as possible and be with you along the way. So the app that Jeff was just mentioning allows us to stay connected with you. If you choose to do a program with us and hire us to be your coaches, then we will be connected to you on a regular basis where you can track what you're doing so that we can see it and we can make adjustments as you go. And that's really important, because the protocol will change as your body changes, and we need to know as your coaches what's going on. So this app is so useful because you can track it for your sake, but it's also important for us to see what changes are happening so that we can continue to be right on top of what you need to move forward as quickly and efficiently as possible. So we're really excited to have the tools that we have on board. We have assessment tools, that are just questionnaires that you fill out on your own at your own time, at your own convenience. We can also look at any kind of lab work that you've already gotten through your physician or outside of your physician, and use those as assessment tools. And then, as we were talking about tonight, the Dutch test is one of our favorite tools to really get the big picture of what's going on, so that when we make our assessments and recommendations, we feel like we're really very specifically targeting just what we need to target in a step-by-step process. So we really look forward to being able to support you in whatever your issues are, whatever your symptoms are. We're really passionate about being with you along the way in the process and having you be a part of the process. You have to interact with us on a regular basis and own it and be a part of the process. But when that happens, it's magical.
I think now is a great time. If you have any questions, please ask them. I think you can, again, this is our first time doing Facebook Live, so we will get smoother as we do these. We plan on doing these at least once a week going forward. We don't know yet when, but we're going to do this at least once a week for all kinds of pieces around the FEWL programs. But there is a question that's popped up about adrenals and as well about stress. And I wonder if, Kim, maybe you want to, we'll do a Q&A here and we'll take over from there.
Right. So the adrenal hormones sit on top of the kidneys, and they function to produce actually a lot of different hormones. What most people recognize is the hormone called cortisol, which is necessary in just the right amounts. When we are stressed out, we tend to have more cortisol being produced, and then that affects the other hormonal axis as well. So we're actually going to do a webinar on this. So we're going to go into much more deeper science, and actually the website has some deeper science articles if you're interested. But the important thing to understand about the adrenals is they're producing hormones that affect every system, every function in the body. So when we're stressed, we easily get fat. We easily have, I shouldn't say easily, we are high risk of it affecting our insulin levels and our metabolism. It can affect our growth hormone and our ability to maintain and muscle and get stronger. It can affect our fertility, our steroid hormones and our sex hormones. So it can affect women in having their regular cycles. It can affect how quickly menopause arrives and how efficient and how easily we get through menopause. Every system in your system that you can think of, every system in your body that you can think of is directly affected by hormones produced by the adrenals and then their downstream hormones. So it's actually a very complicated process. It's referred to as the HPA axis, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. And we do have information on our website, and we will do a webinar on this. But it is a very important component, and the Dutch test gives us a sense of the health of your adrenals. And then it also will give us information about other hormones, the steroid hormones that are definitely interwoven with the function of the adrenals. But looking at the big picture with all of those hormones, it really allows us to target more specifically. So it might be that your adrenals are off and then downstream your other hormones are affected. It could be that your other hormones are affected even though your adrenals are okay. And so the recommendation would be different for those different scenarios. So we really want to look at what is happening with you right now to give you the best recommendations possible to target your needs.
And we'll also match that with, a health assessment. And what are you doing on a daily basis? Because as Kim said, it could be hormone related. It could be gut related because the gut affects the adrenal as well. Or it could also be some foods or a combination of all of them. So if you're looking at adrenals, for example, alcohol, sugar, and caffeine, coffee, those will affect your adrenals as food sources, probably more than most other foods. So again, it's more of an overall picture of where you're at and what are you doing. And all of these tools and assessments just help us figure out exactly where you are because it's personalized. There's a question here from Kevin, which is asking, what is the app that we have? Well, I don't know if you can see that, but it is M-Body 360.
See it backwards.
Maybe.
So this is an app actually that if you are enrolled in one of our coaching programs that you will have unlimited access to. We're just actually getting it set up for the detox. So if you do the 7-day detox with us, you'll have access to it for that 7 days. But if you choose to do one of our other programs, like the Radical Freedom program, then you have access to that app so that you can interact with us every day.
And that would continue. because there's an evolution. Any program that you do, we're hoping, and our end game is that you move into our FEWL Effect, which is our maintenance program. And that means that you're with us forever as long as it works for you, just so that we're always in contact at least once a month, just to check in, make sure. We call them zones. Are you in a green zone, a yellow zone, or a red zone? And we've just found that in our practice over the years, that kind of contact and support and making that sort of a piece, that's really what drives long-term success, and M-Body's included in that, of course, too.
Right.
Wow. So thank you. Thank you very much. If there's no other questions, I think I'm done. How about you?
Yeah, I think it was great. Thank you so much for paying attention and watching our first live Facebook live video. We will keep this posted as long as we can, and then we will also be available, of course, anytime for any questions that you have. And we still, as always, are offering free strategy sessions. So if you're ready to connect with us and talk about your specific issues to see if we might be a fit for you, you can go online and FEWL.io and connect with us that way. Or just send us a message on Facebook and let us know that you want to connect, and we'll reach out to you.
And it's really one of the things that we're really proud of is we are almost available anywhere and any time. Really, because the way that we work our schedules out, we're trying to be available for you so that you don't have to take time off of work or make it inconvenient for you. We want to make it convenient for you. So texting, Zoom, we use Zoom or any of the audio-visual platforms, phone, whichever, and pretty much 7 days a week, because it is all about you, and thank you so much. We very much appreciate you tuning in. And if we may ask, 100% of our business so far has been word of mouth, and we love word of mouth. It shows a lot that people have stepped into trusting us and working with us, and it's been a nice journey for us, and we certainly would love to have more of those referrals, because ultimately at the end of the day, the best thing for Kim and I and our coaches is that we're here to do good service and to meet a critical need of delivering really awesome service and advice, both medical or nutrition, if you want to blend that in the functional nutrition coach space, to people just like you, because there's no need to be stuck, or there's no need to be not where you want to be. So thank you very, very much from us.
All right. Good night.
Good night.